So as per the license limitation, they don't have an access few of the shared objects. Because of that, you cannot assign it.
Only standard user will be assigned.
Standard user, system admin, and then standard platform. So standard user, yeah, standard user and system admin, you can assign it.
Okay. For cases also same, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So these flows is basically like 5 types: screen flow, auto launch flow, record trigger flow, as well as scheduled flow. And then we are having one more thing, that is platform event flow. Okay, so remaining all flows we need to invoke by someone. But in the case of like record trigger flows, it is an automation tool. It's invoked based on the DML operation. So if any of the DML operation perform, then by default these record trigger flow will invoke. So already we discussed when these record trigger flow will invoke, what are the DML events we can use for this one? Record trigger flow we discussed multiple times.
Yes.
Yes.
So what are the events we can use it?
Before, after,
Before, after,
delete.
delete. Before, after,
Before, after,
delete,
delete.
delete.
Before, after,
Before
delete.
insert,
Before insert, after insert, before delete, after
before
delete,
update,
update, after update.
Before insert, after insert,
Before
Before
update,
delete, after delete,
before update,
after update,
after
update,
update,
before delete,
and then before
before
delete,
after delete.
after delete as well.
Hmm.
Okay. So, do anyone having an idea what is before and then what is after?
Before,
When we need to go
before
with
means before saving the
before saving the record and after.
yeah. So when we need to go with before and when we need to go with after.
for doing validation before adding the record to database, we can go with the before to prevent any bad data like this thing.
Okay.
or updating the same object record we can do for before also.
Mm-hmm. Any other solution here?
What?
When I need to go with before or when I need to go with after?
For validation and for same object update, if any field you want to update, for that purpose we'll go for before insert.
Okay. So here what you need to do, you need to like go with before if you're like trying to update triggered record values. So triggered record in the sense I am creating a account record. I am creating account record. So if you are creating account record means triggered record is basically what are the record you are creating. What are the record you are creating. So if you would like to update, if you would like to update triggered record values, then you need to go with before events. If you would like to update other record values or other object record values, then you need to go with after events. Okay, so now I am creating record, I am updating record. So the corresponding record we called as a triggered record. The corresponding record we called as triggered record. So from today onwards, what we need to do, if you're like implementing any of the flow, first we need to like analyze few things here. So analyze few things here. So the requirement is basically I would like to implement one record trigger flow. For that, I need to go with before trigger or after trigger, or I need to go with what is the object name. So and then what are the events I need to consider. So these things just as a practice, just mention like this. So on which object we need to create trigger. So object trigger. So for example, if I have a requirement, the requirement sometimes right we are not sure on which object we need to create a trigger. So sometimes it's a combination of records, combination of requirement. So you may be like having an account contact opportunity. So three objects involved in the requirement. So at that moment, what happened, right? At that moment, you may be like confused. You may be like confused with the corresponding activities. So you feel like you are going to create a trigger on an account or like opportunity or like contact. But for such kind of requirements, we need to create only trigger on one object. But we confusing because of our confusion, we feel like we can create in multiple objects. Okay, so that's why whatever the requirements we are going to discuss it. For those requirements, first we need to verify on which object we need to create trigger. So that we need to mention. So then after we need to remember like events. So the events is basically either like a before events or after events, or like what are the DML operation we need to consider. What are the DML operation is considered. For example, I have a requirement whenever account record is created, based on the account rating, I need to update the billing country. I need to update the billing country. So if you have a such kind of requirement, then we need like clearly understand the requirement. Okay, my requirement is basically whenever account record is created, I need to update. I need to update billing country based on the rating. Based on the rating. So if you have a requirement like this, generally what we feel, we are going to create multiple things. We are going to create multiple things. But the thing here it is we need to like clearly specify on which event we need to call. Okay, on which event we need to call. I need to call with before insert or after insert, or before update, after update. You should be clear about the requirement. So then only your like solutions you can fix it easily. Okay, so now I have a requirement. The requirement is basically whenever account record is created, then I need to update billing address based on the I need to update billing address based on the account rating field. Account rating field. Earlier we have implemented, right? Rating equal to hot. Then I'm going to populate one country. Rating equal to warm. Then I'm going to populate one country. Rating equal to cold. Then I'm going to populate another country. Okay, so if you're having like a rating line based on the country, so we need to update our billing country values. Billing country value. So if you have a such kind of requirement, then first we need like prepare notes like this. Object trigger, on which object we need to implement the trigger. That means which object we need to implement the record trigger flow or trigger. Okay, so what are the events we need to consider. So those things we need to mention. Okay, so if I'm having a requirement, just now we discussed it, right? For that one, on which object we need to implement trigger. On which object?
Account.
Account object.
We are making
So
changes on
everyone
account.
first,
So on account.
why we are implementing on account object? If you are not clear, just ask me. Okay, that's fine. If you're not clear, just ask me. I will explain. So whoever like new to Salesforce, right? Just like try to understand. If you're not clear, just let me know. Why we need to implement a trigger on account. Sirtha, do you have any idea?
Instagram.
Meghana?
Sir,
So why we are creating a trigger on account? So do you
I
have
don't. Can we explain, sir?
okay. Poonam? Poonam, did you got my question?
Can you sir repeat?
Okay. So why we are implementing trigger on account? So as per my requirement, did you got my requirement at least?
Yes, sir.
So what is my requirement?
Action.
What is my requirement?
We are changing. Thumbnail. Sir, don't know.
Akanksha, what is my requirement?
If we create a record,
Mhm.
if I have to update the rating. So what it means, which action, which event we will use.
Okay. Smita, did you got the requirement?
Hello, Shikha.
Yes, yes. You got the requirement?
Yeah, why we are, on which object we have to create
No, no.
trigger?
I'm asking about like requirement. Okay, what is our requirement?
Like, uh, if sorry.
If you want to create the account, sorry, if I want to create a record and and want update the rating like cold, warm, and something. So I have which object we will use and which event we will use. This is the requirement.
Okay. Meghna, what is our requirement?
Sir,
What is our requirement? Yeah, Johar. I'm asking you. I'm asking you, Meghna.
sir,
So, what is our requirement?
Requirement.
ticket,
Hmm?
object tickets.
Okay. You listening my class or like just running? I'm not
Listen.
asking solution. I'm not asking solution. I'm just asking like requirement.
Object tickets.
Okay. So I'm again repeating. Requirement is whenever we are creating account record based on a rating field, we need to populate a billing country. Okay. So requirement is different. Solution is different. So the requirement is basically whenever account record is created, then I need to populate a billing country based on the rating value. So if rating equal to hot, then I need to populate one of the country. If rating equal to warm, then I need to populate one of the country. If rating equal to cold, then I need to populate one of the country name in our billing country. It is our requirement. Okay. So why we are like discussing these many times and this much of level in the sense, if you are implementing our solution, our like requirements, many of our requirements deal with these flows as well as triggers. Many of the requirements you need to work with flows as well as the trigger. So if you are aware where we need to implement and then what we need to implement, then we can fix it easily. So that's why I am asking you these many times. Okay. So if you are like working with the flows as well as trigger, we should be very careful. It's like a core Apex, it is going to work. So that's why we should implement a proper way. Otherwise, even if you implement a proper solution, it won't work. Okay. So here our requirement is basically when we are creating account record, when account record is created, like while creating account record, based on a rating, we need to populate a billing country. So they are going to create an user story. They are going to create an user story like this. You need to like work on that one. So whatever the like requirement, they just simply create an one line statement like this, and then you need to work on the user story. So at the time you need to like understand what we need to do. Then after you need to choose which feature is helping you to complete this requirement. Okay, so the requirement is basically while creating account record based on rating, we need to populate a billing country. So they are going to give the values like this. So hot equal to UAE, we need to populate values as hot equal to UAE, and then cold equal to Canada, and then we are having like a warm equal to India. So like this, we need to populate the values. Okay, so if they give requirement like this, we need to understand what we need to do, and then we need to like implement. We need to implement what are the things required for this requirement. Like I need to go with the trigger, or I need to go with the flow, or I need to go with the validation route, or I need to go with the relationship field, or like email alert, workflow. So which one you want to choose? You need to choose based on the requirement. Okay, so now we have a requirement like this. While creating account record based on rating, we need to populate billing country. It is our requirement. Is it clear for everyone? So what we are going to achieve?
Yeah, Shrikant.
Yes.
Okay, so here the source of DML. So we need like know source of DML. Source of DML means so on which object we are creating records, on which object we are updating records, or which object we are deleting records. So here we are creating records on our account object. So why we need to implement trigger or like a flow on account object, in the sense the source of DML is basically account object. So because of DML we are performing an account object, we need to create a trigger on our account object. That means whatever the record trigger flow we are going to create, that we need to create on our account object. So then after we need to verify the corresponding events here. So the events, as I mentioned, these record trigger flow supporting 6 events. So the events is before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete. So here the events what we are going to consider for this solution is basically we need to like re-verify our requirement. Our requirement is while creating account record. So while creating account record based on rating, we need to populate billing country. So if we have a such kind of requirement, what are the DML operations that is going to performing here? What are the DML operations? It may be like performing here. Anyone having any idea? What are the DML operations we are performing here?
Before insert, before update.
Before insert,
Before updates.
before update.
Before insert, before update.
Okay. So why we need to go with before update here?
If we are updating the rating field, then again it should be changed country field.
Deepak, can we go for before update here?
While creating account, no sir. For insert only it will work, because while creating account record, it says in question.
Okay. Johar, can we go with before update? So why we need to go with before update here?
Before insert.
Okay. So why can't we go with the after update and then after insert here? Okay. Mhm. Okay. So here I like in our requirement, I just mentioned create. While creating a record, we need to populate the billing country based on the rating. So there is no update operation here. There is no update operation. Okay, so we need to go with the insert only. We need to go with insert only. So if I mention, so whenever account record is created or updated, so based on rating, I need to populate the billing country. If I mention like that, then we can go with both insert and then update operation. But as for like these requirement, I have mentioned like while creating account record based on rating, we need to populate billing country. We need to populate billing country or we need to update billing country. So if you mention like that, that means it's only insert operation while creating instance only insert scenario. So in the case of like while insert and then update, then you can go with both insert and then update, both insert and then update. So now you are having a requirement like this. So now I will give like one more scenario. The scenario is basically while creating record, creating account. So based on account type, we need to update parent account type. Okay, so whatever the account type of your child, so that should be updated on your parent account. So we are having like a parent and the child account is there, right? So our requirement is basically, so whenever account record is created or like updated, so now I'm navigating to the these corresponding account records here. So now my requirement is basically whenever I'm creating an account record, I need like a populate the corresponding account type to their parent account type, to their parent account type. So now navigating to the accounts. So here I'm having a record like this. So these record having a parent record. So account VF. So for example, I am creating account page reference 33. Account page reference 33. So like I'm creating in a these corresponding record here. If I'm like trying to create these corresponding record, then our requirement is basically I need to populate whatever the type I have selected here. Same type I need to update on our parent account type. Okay, so this parent account basically account VF. So whatever the type while creating this record, whatever the type I have selected here, same type I need to update here. Same type I need to update here. So if I'm giving like a prospect or like customer direct or whatever the type I have selected here, same type I need to populate in our parent account. It is my requirement. It is my requirement. So in this scenario also, as I mentioned, create only. So the source of DML, as I mentioned, source of DML is basically account only. Why? Because we are creating account record. We are creating a account record. So the triggering record, the corresponding object trigger is basically on our account object only. The source of DML is basically account, and then object trigger account only. Why? Because we have like we are initiating a trigger on our account, right? So because of that, I am placing like the corresponding object trigger also account here, and then events. So I need to go with like insert event or update event or before or after. So which one we need to go for this requirement?
Before insert. Before insert.
I think after insert also it will work, might be. I'm 50-50. I'm not sure.
Any other? Solution here.
Before insert.
So generally in our trainer are like everyone explaining like if you need to modify other record, if you need to modify other object record, you need to go with after, or if you are trying to modify your object record, then you need to go with before. Okay, so generally for an easy remembrance, so they are going to mention like this. So everyone mention like this only. Okay, so if you're trying to modify same object record, you need to go with before. If you're trying to modify other object record, we need to go with after events.
After.
Okay, but the thing here it is not 100% true. Okay, so in this scenario, we need to go with after insert. We need to go with after insert. So why I need to go with the after insert in the sense? So here two different records, So I am creating a account page reference 33, account page reference 33. So these record we called as a triggered record. These record we called as triggered record. Okay, so triggered record. So whatever the record we are creating, whatever the record we are updating, the corresponding record we called as a triggered record. If I'm creating new record, if I'm updating one record, so the corresponding record we called as a triggered record. So if you need to populate or if you need to update same record value, same record values, so then you need to go with before events. You need to go with before events. So other than this trigger record, if you're like trying to modify any other record, then you need to go with after events. You need to go with after events. So triggered record in the sense, whatever the record we are creating, whatever the record we are updating. So if you are creating or like updating, so the corresponding record we called as a triggered record. So in this scenario, these account page reference 33 we are creating, and then it is an existing record. These two are two different records. So now you are creating account page reference 33, and then you need to update the account vf type. Okay, so here the trigger record is basically account page reference 33, and it is another record. So if you're like trying to modify another record, then what you need to go with after events. You need to go with after events. So now in this scenario, what we are trying to do, the triggered record, for the triggered record only, you need to update the billing country. So in this scenario, right, if you're creating account page reference 33, based on these rating, you need to populate a same record billing country value. Same record billing country value. So here what you are going to do, so whatever the rating, based on these rating, you need to update same record field values. So that means triggered record values only you are going to update it. So if you're like trying to modify same record values, then you need to go with before events here. You need to go with before events here. In the case of if you are modifying other object records, then you need to go with after events here. So for example, here what we are going to do, so based on these like a type, this account type, we need like populate other object record values. So because of that, we need to go with after events here. We need to go with after events here. So if you're using a before insert and like a before insert, so can we get any error in sense? It won't get any error, but as per the like best practice, as per the like ideal solution, we need to go with after events here. So if you're using a before insert for both scenarios, it won't give you any issue. Okay, and it will work for like few scenarios. Sometimes if you are like having any issues with your like records, at the time you will get many issues. Okay, so that's why, so here what we need to, we need like thoroughly verify what are the event we need to use it here. What are the event we need to use it here. So if you're like trying to modify triggered record field values, if you're trying to modify triggered record field values, then you need to go with before. If you're like trying to modify other than triggered record values, then you need to go with after events here. After events here, same logic that is going to applicable to the triggers as well. So if you're like working with the triggers at that time also, we should like know this concept. So not only like a triggers, so if you go with like flows as well as like triggers, so you should know about this logic. Okay, so when we're like working with any of the solution, so we should like keep in mind we need like go with before or after. We need to go with before or after, or we need like go with insert or update or delete or undelete. Which operation we need to consider? So always we should be like use proper events, then only you are able to get the proper solution. Okay, so you have a requirement like this. So for this one we are able to like identify object equal to trigger, and then events equal to before insert here. So now I am having one more requirement here. So I am having one more requirement here. So now my requirement is basically when account record is created, when account record is created, then I need to create contact record. Okay, so when account record is created, then I need to create a contact record. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need like first identify the corresponding source of DML, or like directly we can go with like a object name, object trigger. Okay, and then we need to go with events. So here on which object we need to implement trigger?
Account object.
Account. Why we need to go with account here?
Because we are creating account, so based on that, contact will be created.
So contact
Triggering object.
Triggering record is from account object.
Exactly. So here we are creating contact also. Generally what we feel, so we are creating contact and then we are creating account. So then we can create two triggers, or like we can create trigger and contact like that. Some people they thought like that. Okay, but triggering, so always on which object we need to create a, on which object we need to create a trigger or flow in the sense. So the triggering record object, the triggering record object. So here when account record is created, then we need to create a contact. So create
Why is it stuck?
Shrikant, your voice is stuck.
when account record is created, triggering event, the requirement is we need to create contact. We need to create contact. So now the object trigger we are going to like implement on our account. We are going to implement on our account. And then, so what are the events that we need to consider here?
After insert. After insert.
Sorry?
After insert.
insert.
After insert? Anything else?
No.
Will it be sufficient or anything else we need to go? So that is fine. Like if you are having even like wrong answers also, that is fine. But you are trying something. Okay, you can try. Then I can correct it. So everyone here, right? So no issue. Whatever in your mind, just explain it, so that I am going to correct it. So then next time you won't repeat it.
After insert only.
We are creating contact
Contact.
record.
Okay. So here our requirement is basically when account record is created, then we need to create contact record. The trigger DML is basically account record. When account record is created, then only we need to create contact record. So that's why we are going to choose our account is our parent, and then events. So here we are trying to create. So if you're like trying to create, or if you're like trying to update other than triggered record, then we need to go with after events. So here we are going to create a other object record here. So that's why what we need to do, we need to go with after insert operation. After insert operation. So why we need to go with like after and then before? Can we go with all after, or can we go with all before? So is there any blocker for us? Is there any like issue with these before and then after? Why can't like we go with like all the things with after or all the things with before? Or like why Salesforce introduce these before and then after concept? Anyone having any idea?
Before saving on same object, if you want to do anything, it will happen. And after means after saving the record, what should happen? And which field should update? Same or other object, like that way. Means before saving and after saving. Only that is the difference.
Okay.
Before
Then why
saving the
can't we
record,
go
what
with
should happen? After saving the record, what should happen? For that purpose only.
If you create the account, then after saving it will create the contact. That's why we use after.
Because before creating account, there is no ID now. So how could contact know that that account is my parent? So for that, after insert, because if record get created, ID will be created. After that, the contact will be created now. So that is the reason.
Okay. So now I have a requirement. The requirement is basically whenever account record is updated with status as active. Okay. Then I need to create a contact. At the time ID is there, still we go with the after update. Why I need to go with the after update over there? So ID is there, right?
Sorry.
Because
Can you repeat
first
the
it-
question, please, once again?
So question is basically whenever account status updated to the active, whenever
Status.
account status updated to active, then I need to
After
create a
update.
contact. Then I need to create a contact.
After update we use, because we are updating the account, then only contact we create.
Yeah. So here why can't we go with before update?
Because account is already created and we have to update only the status. That's why.
Because we are updating other record or creating other records, and triggering record is different.
Before updating, how should the contact know that we have to create? Before update, we
Contact
create.
account ID is there, right? Account ID is there so that contact able to know like their parent.
But update, how could he know that it's updated or not before? Because if you update and you save, before save it will not happen. After save only it will happen, because we are.
So if you are saving, then only if you are saving, right? Then only the status in the case of like before save and then after save, both the times the value in the status field is active only. Okay, in the before update also the status is active only.
Only after insert and after update will come in picture in this case.
Okay, that's fine.
After insert and after update, not only just after update. Because while creating only, if we update the checkbox, so contact should be created.
Okay.
So after insert, after update.
Okay. Okay. So that's fine. So we can discuss this scenario when we go with triggers. Okay. But
We all are, sorry, we all are correct or wrong?
Somewhat it's correct, but I will explain like why we need to go with before and what the advantages if I go with before, and why can't we go with like after. So I will explain. Okay, when we are working with triggers, right? So at the time we need to like discuss about order of execution, so that once we are done with order of execution, then I will explain it. Okay, so now, so for this requirement, right, we are like just analyzing. So as I mentioned, if you're like trying to update triggered record values, say same record values, then you need to go with before events. If you're like trying to modify other than trigger record values, then you need to go with after. You need to go with after. Okay, so these things we need to remember. These things we need to remember. So now coming to the like our flows, we can go with one small flow here. So as of now we are discussing about only record trigger flows. Okay, so why? Because this record trigger flow is an automation tool. So these record trigger flow is like basically automation functionalities available. So that's why first we'll go with this one. So then after we go with like a auto launch flow and then screen flow, and then like a schedule flow. These are things not required. So same thing that is going to be available. So we'll go with the like a record trigger flow, then auto launch flow, then a screen flow. So now what we can do, if you would like to create the corresponding flows here.
Shrikant, can you explain the second scenario again?
Which one?
Second scenario.
This one.
Yes.
So the scenario is basically whenever account record is created, based on the account record type, I need to populate the parent account type. Okay, so here what we are trying to do, we are trying to modify their parent account type. So whatever the type I have set here, same type I need to populate in their parent account type field. We are having type field. So for this purpose, what we are doing, so we are implementing one record trigger flow. So the trigger flow is basically we need to implement on our account object. Why we need to implementing on our account object in the sense, so here the source of DML, the triggered record is basically account. So we are creating account record. So that's why we are like simply consider the source of DML is account, and then the object unit like implement trigger also account only. So once we are like finalize these two, then after we need to finalize events. So here, as I mentioned, if you are like trying to modify, triggered record value, then you need to go with before. But here we are trying to modify other than trigger record value, trigger record. So I am like creating one record, but we are like we need to update a different record. We need to update different record. I am creating account page reference 33, but we need to update another account VF. So you need to modify different record set. That's why we need to go with after events here. We need to go with after events here. And again, I mentioned like when while creating only. So if it is creating only, then you need to go with insert operation. If it is create and then update, then you need to go with after insert, after update. But as I mentioned, I need to go with only create scenario. In the case of like create scenario, then I need to go with the insert operation. Insert operation. These things we need to mention. Okay. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go with one small scenario today. So the scenario is basically the corresponding like rating values, all those things. So then after we'll go with other scenarios. Okay, so today we go with like one basic scenario. As I mentioned, if you would like to create a trigger, as I mentioned, first we need to prepare statements like this. So what are the like object and then events, then after we'll go with the scenario. So now I'm like trying to implement a flow. If you would like to implement the flow, what you need to, you need like enter a flow in your quick find, so that you are able to get the flow option here. So that you are able to get the flow option here. Okay, once you got the flow here, what are the available flows? So all the available flows available here. If you would like to modify, you can modify this one. So first of all, what we need to do, whenever we are like trying to create a new requirement, first we need to identify whether is there any trigger or like is there any flow already exist on the object or not. If it is exist, then no, you need like a modify existing flow only. In the case of if you are like trying to create a new requirement, there is no flow or like a no trigger implement, then you need to create new one. Okay, if it is already existing any of the flow that is related to our requirement, then you need to go with the corresponding flow only. You need to modify existing flow only. So if there is no flow created on our object, then only you need to create a new flow here. So now we assume no flow is available on our account object. So then I'm going to create a new flow here. I'm going to create new flow here. So when you are like trying to create new flow, it is asking you to what type of flow do you want to create it? What type of flow do you want to create it? As I mentioned, we are having like five types of flows. So as per our requirement, so we need to go with the record trigger flow only. Record trigger flow only. So now you need to choose the corresponding flow here. Okay, so screen flow, scheduled trigger flow, and then auto launch flow, then after record trigger flow. So now I am going to choose these record trigger flow here. Okay, so when you are like choosing a record trigger flow, so then you need like simply specify simply like you can convert to free form. Okay, so you can like you need to select the corresponding object name. So click on edit, and then select the object name. You need to create a record this flow on our account object, right? So that's why enter as a account, and then you need to go with the configure trigger. So here, so you have multiple sections available here. A record is created, a record is updated, a record is created or updated, a record is deleted. So when do you want to execute these trigger? You need to specify here. When do you want to execute like these functionality? You need to specify here. So as per our requirement, I would like to go with like a record is created or like a record is created only. So as per like these requirements, so I need to go with only insert operation. So for the purpose, I am going to choose a record is created. So then after we are having like do you want like go with any of the condition? You can verify the corresponding conditions here. Otherwise, what we can do, we can go with these selection here. So in the case of like before or after, so before or after, so we are like discussing multiple times, right? Before, after, before, after, before, after. So here, how you are going to choose before or how you are going to choose after in the sense. So fast field update, that means before flows, and then action and then related records, that means after events here. So after events here, if you like to go with after insert, after update, after delete, then you need to go with these actions and related records. In the case of if you would like to go with before insert, before update, or like a before delete, then you need to go with fast field updates. Fast field updates in the sense before, actions and related records in the sense after. So now I, as per my requirement, I need to go with fast field updates. So simply I am choosing this one, and then click on done. Click on done. So in the case of your like your requirement is basically rating. Based on the rating, you need to implement the corresponding actions. So now what you are going to do, so if you have any condition, you need to add these decision box. So we have like a components called assignment, decision, loop, and then collection sort, collection filters. So these are the actions available. And then we are having like update records, get records option is available. So in the case of like before events, so we should not use these update record option. So we should not use these update record option. In the case of like before flows, so we should not use these update record option. Remaining on, we can use it. Okay, so we can use update record option, but it's not recommended. So if you're like trying to implement it, it won't give you any issue, but it's not recommended. It's not recommended. So now what we are going to do, so we are going to like verify condition. The condition is basically if rating equal to so and so, then I need to populate the billing country. So if you would like to verify the condition, then you need to use these decision box. In this decision, I'm like trying to verify whether like a rating equal to like a hot, rating equal to warm, rating equal to cold, like that. I need to verify the condition here. So for the purpose, I'm like trying to verify rating verification. I'm like simply using the corresponding name here. So then after new outcome, the outcome is I'm going to specify rating is hot. Okay, and I am going to verify the corresponding rating field. So if you would like to verify rating field, so here we are having a record. So record in the sense whatever the record we are creating, the corresponding record value available in this record. Okay, so record, and then I am going to specify rating. Rating here. Rating equals to whatever the pick list options available here. Rating equal to hot. Okay, so similar way I would like to verify for other ratings as well. For that, I am like trying to create one more outcome here. I need to create one more outcome here. So now what I'm going to do, one more condition, rating is warm. So I'm using one more condition. So here we need to consider a record in the sense whatever the record we are creating, right? the corresponding information available in this record. So record rating. Record rating. So is warm here. So similar way, I am going to choose one more condition. The condition is rating is cold. Okay, I am choosing these many conditions. Like I am going to choose record rating. I need to verify code. So these three are done. So these three are done. These three conditions I have verified. I am like simply verifying here. So now what you need to do, you can like just align and then connect these two. Connect these two. So then automatically like once the record is created, so it will be like invoke. In this JSON will be invoke. So then after your requirement is basically you need to update the billing country. You need to update the billing country. So why we are choosing this much of simple condition sense? We just know how to build the. We just need to know how to build the flows. So because of that, I am choosing in a simple conditions here. So later we can go with complex conditions. Okay, but at this moment we need to know how to build the flows. Because of that, I am choosing like a basic requirements here. Okay, so now our requirement is basically based on the rating. I need to populate the billing country. So if you would like to update field values, then what you need to do, you need to use these assignment. Assignment in the sense, whatever the billing country we are assigning values, whatever the like field do you want to modify, you need to specify the field name and then you need to enter the values here. So now what I'm going to do, I need to like verify update billing country for hot. So simply I'm like updating billing country for hot operation. So now what I'm going to do, the corresponding record. So record in sense, which field do you want to modify? The corresponding field name we need to specify here. Billing country. So equals to which value you need to like assign, the corresponding name you need to enter here. So I would like to assign so in the case of like hot, I need to assign as a UAE. So simply I'm able to specify like this, and then I'm clicking on them. So then what you need to do, you need to connect these two. So when you are like connecting these two, right, then here it is available as when this should be executed. So here rating equal to hot, or rating is warm, or rating is cold. So as per like this assignment, what we need to, if I like trying to connect, you should be execute only when rating equal to hot. So that's why you need to choose the outcome type as a rating equal to hot here, and then click on done. So that what happened, so whenever record is created, first it is going to start executing here. So we need to go with the create operation or update operation. So here we choose it like it's a create operation only. So then after it will move to the second step. In the second step, what happened, so they need to like verify is like a fast field update or like a trigger like after events. So here we are going with the fast field updates only. So then it move to the decision. So we are connecting like this, right? It move to the decision. Within the decision, it is going to like it is going to verify all the conditions here. The condition is basically hot or like warm or cold. So here I would like to verify hot. Then what happened, right? So then what happened, right? If it is hot, then it move to the this assignment. In this assignment, what we are doing, we are populating billing country as UAE. Simply we are populating like this. Okay, and then for the other values also, we are going to add this assignment. So now billing country update for warm.
Wow.
So simply I am choosing, and then I need to update the record billing country. So that's why record billing country I am need to choose it, and then equals to I am going to populate as a India. So simply I am choosing like this. So then after I need to connect these two. So when we are connecting these two, already we are done with the hot, rate. Hot is not available, so we need to go with the warm. So in the case of like warm, then we need to execute this statement. So now I need like execute for cold. Then simply I am drag and drop billing country update for cold. So I am choosing this option. So then after I need like go with the record, and then billing country equals to Canada. So simply I'm applying like this, and then now I need to connect. I need to connect these two. So now simply I'm going to add like this. So here rating is equal to code or default outcome. So our default outcome simply I'm like connecting like this. Rating equal to code. Okay, so here we are having an option. We are having an option for a default outcome as well. So if these three conditions is not satisfied, if these three conditions satisfied, not satisfied, then what we need to execute? What we need to execute? So if you see here, right? First one is rating is hot, rating is warm, and then rating is cold. So if these three conditions is not satisfied, then what we need to populate? Okay, default outcome within this decision it is going to verify rating value. If rating is hot, then it is going to execute this assignment. If rating equal to warm, then it is going to execute this assignment. If rating equal to cold, then it is going to execute this statement. If these three statements is not satisfied, then do you want to execute anything? Then you can go with the default outcome. So if these three statements are not satisfied, then I would like to populate billing country as USA. Then I would like to populate billing country as USA. So then billing country update for null values. Billing country update for null. Okay, null rating. So then I need to choose the corresponding record and then billing country. So here I'm going to I'm going to choose USA. So I'm going to choose USA. So you have defined here, and you need to connect this one. You need to simply connect this one. So if you're like connecting, right, then by default outcome is there. So if billing country equal to hot, then it is going to populate this value. If billing country equal to warm, then it is going to populate this value. In the case of like a billing country equal to cold, then we are going to populate this value. And if it is not satisfied with these three, then we are going to populate this value. We are going to populate this value. Okay, so while creating record, first you start executing this one, then after it is going to verify in our decision. So if decision is satisfied, so based on the decision it is going to like execute any one of this one. So if you would like to populate values of same record, so then assignment is sufficient so that it is going to update values accordingly. So once you are done with these changes, then after you need to save this corresponding flow. I'm going to specify account before insert. So this operation name I am specifying here, so that next time if any of the requirement that is before insert, then they can open this flow and then they can add their changes. And then simply click on save. So then after I am going to activate this flow. So once you are done with this flow, right, you need to activate this flow. So this flow is got activated. Okay, so now if you create any of the account record, so then based on this condition it is going to execute it. Okay, is it clear? So what we did here, are anyone having any questions about this requirement, this implementation?
Yes, Shrikant, we got it.
Yes, Shrikant is clear. Got it.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you explain about rating is warm?
Which one?
Rating is warm, sir.
So rating is warm in the sense we are having a rating field here, right? So
Yes,
whatever
sir.
the field option we are selecting, so we are going to select different field values. So now I am trying to create a new account record with the type as hot, with the type as warm, with the type as cold. So what happened? So whenever record is created, so it is this flow will try to execute it. So whenever account record is created, then by default it is going to execute this one. So and then the record, whatever the record we are creating, the record values available in this decision. Okay, so here we are having multiple conditions. Each and every condition we are verifying rating. Okay, rating equal to hot, warm, and then cold. So for each and every verification, I am using one condition here. Okay, so if I'm choosing this first condition, rating equal to hot. If I'm choosing second condition, rating equal to warm. If I'm choosing like a third condition, rating equal to cold. So like this, we are creating three different conditions here. We are creating three different conditions here. So if your record is created, then automatically what happened, right? It is going to like execute any one of these condition. Okay, any one of these condition. So now what happened, right? If any one of these condition is satisfied, then it is going to execute the corresponding outcome here. So if you create a record with rating equal to warm, then it won't execute remaining thing. It's simply executing these corresponding rating is warm. So these line will go, and then these assignment will happen. So here what we are doing, we are like simply assigning. So the corresponding billing country India. So billing country equal to India. So that means these value we are updating on our billing country. Assignment in the sense we are updating. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So any more questions from anyone? Okay, so what you can do, you can like try with other scenarios as well, but I will explain. So what we are going to do, but from your end, as I mentioned, try with the round robin algorithm as well as other scenarios.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I will do.
Okay, so tomorrow we have a holiday, right? So go with these things. So try to implement a round robin algorithm for case and then lead. So then after, as I mentioned, if you are having like a like interest, so you can go with leave as well. So if any of the employee are like going for leave, so how to skip that user, so try to implement that feature as well. So if it is not, that is fine, but I will explain on Monday class, so how we are going to skip and all those things. Okay, so once you are done with that one, so whatever the like requirements today we discussed, right, about the flows, so try to go with that one as well.
Yeah, okay, Shikhar.
Okay,
Okay, Srikanth.
any
Thank you.
more, anyone?